Okay, so it's very important for us to, so let's go back to QGIS. And so in our georeferencer plugin, you will see that the reason I'm able to write -10 degrees, -10 degrees is because I know that the west is because of the west, the letter W is okay. That's what convinces me that, or in fact, if you want to even confirm, look at it carefully, you see that we have -10 degrees west, then we have 0 degrees, then we have -10, then we have 10 degrees east. So we have 10 degrees west, 0, 10 degrees east. It's like a number line, if you like. It's like a number line. But this is how geographers, they don't use negative numbers. Negative numbers are not used, but mathematically, in most software, you will need to specify a negative for west, large longitudes that are west. Okay, so we have -10, 0. So let me show you my notepad. So in my notepad, you can see now I have 3 coordinates. I need 1 more. Then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm just picking 4 points to define the image, which means that the 4 points should be quite evenly distributed. Are you okay? Not like grouped in some small corner. All right, so bottom right is what is left for me to do. And what is it going to be? We can actually deduce the bottom right. Are you okay? The top right will share the same longitude or the same x, which is actually 10. Now, we can also share the latitude with the bottom left, and that latitude is 0. So this is our bottom right without even going through the process of looking through the map. So let's go to the map then and see if that's actually what the situation is, and that's what it should be. Okay, so if you go all the way to the end here, you see that we have positive 10 degrees east. In fact, it's not positive 10 degrees, it's 10 degrees east, which is the equivalent of 10 degrees, positive 10 degrees. All right, and then what is this longitude? If we actually track it all the way, I don't know if I can do this. Okay, I can do that. I'm using the upper arrow to actually scroll up. To pan up, you can use the upper arrow on your keyboard. It's actually 10 degrees east, and then there, of course, the latitude should be 0. Now it's disappeared. What do I do? What button do I press? Go up here and press that. We get it back. So that is how we're able to interact with the image that we want to georeference. So that's the 0 degrees, which goes all the way to the end. And that same line can be seen to be, if that's the lowest latitude, then of course it will serve 2 purposes. Are you okay? For the farthest intersection on the right-hand side, on the eastern side, and then the farthest, longitude on the left-hand side, the westmost point. Okay, so excuse me, that's basically it. We can zoom back to the full layer. Okay, so what we just did, what have we done so far? So we have the coordinates. So carry on from there, step 10. The coordinates. Yeah, we've done this already, I know. Coordinates of the intersections, that's what we just did, step 11. Now we want to actually associate the intersections. We want to tell the computer that these are the values. So we've written them down so that when we have to tell the computer, we just look, we read, and then we make an input into the software. So let's start with the very first one. So I'm going to make a sketch. That's going to help us. So to my whiteboard. Okay, so if I actually do this, then this is point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. Okay, if I go to my whiteboard and I take a screenshot of my coordinates, Obviously, I can go back to my whiteboard and paste it. So we can see that these coordinates can be mapped. So if I were to draw straight lines, then top left is 1, top right is 2. Wow. Are these guys still there? Are you listening to me? Okay, great. Hold on. Let me put my charger. Let me plug in my charger quickly. It won't take a second. It doesn't happen every day, okay? Let me just plug it in. Okay, so I have it plugged in, so we don't have any issue with power. Okay, so excuse me, like I said, yes.
I wanted to ask a question.
Go ahead.
So can you choose more than 4 coordinates, or always is advisable for you
You
to
can
pick
choose
4
more than
coordinates?
4. You can choose more than 4 coordinates, but they have to be correct. If it is a mathematical solution, it's some kind of what we call least squares adjustment. It's a coordinate transformation. You can choose more than that if you so wish, but you have to make sure they are correct. Otherwise, they will affect the solution, and then you will not have it. Are you okay? You won't have a good solution. When you are done, the whole map will not look okay. Are you okay? Because we are now going to set up a new coordinate system. Okay. Initially, the coordinate system in the image is no coordinate system. Because of your question, let me go back to the image and show you something. Okay, so I want you to look at the bottom of the plugin. You will see there are coordinates reading there. As you move your mouse, you look at the bottom right, you will see that some coordinates are changing there. Those coordinates are, excuse me to say, they are just numbers. Are you okay? They are just some random discrete values. Are you okay? Random values. Okay? Random values. You can't even tell what they are. They don't make any sense. Okay? But then when we say longitude 15 degrees west, we all know we are getting towards Nigeria. Geographically, this is an accepted set of values. So, yeah, that's the way it works. Okay? You can choose so many, we can add more points. It's just a mathematical transformation. Yes, I don't want to bore you with the coordinate transformation, which you probably learned. I mean, I don't know, for you know, you've learned it somewhere. Bottom left is this one. Bottom right is that one. Okay, so let's go back to the plugin, and we are going to put in these values. Oh, I wasn't even showing you this one, and I was talking about it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and why have I drawn the box? Well, I don't know. It's just to orient me so that I know that I have my first point. So, for example, as you said, what if I wanted a 5th and a 6th point? I have to be careful, isn't it? So if I put a 5th point here and I put a 6th point here, without a diagram like this, if you're not careful, you'll be clicking on the 5th point and be thinking is the first point. And in fact, it won't work. You end up with something funny. You wouldn't like it. Okay, so we go back to our plugin. Now we're going to put in the first coordinates. You're going to tell the computer what the first coordinate is. Okay, so we want to pan and make sure that this is it. I want to zoom out a bit, pan, make sure this is central. So The 11th step is to re-identify if there's anything like that. The first and subsequent points. And click add points. We're going to click add point. We're going to look for add points, and we're just going to put it in. So add point is actually up there somewhere. Edit add points is okay. So edit add points. Okay. So you can do that, or you can come and look for a shortcut, which is actually, I think this one, add points. So you can delete points. Okay, you can move it, you can actually add. So I just click here. You know, you try to put it there as accurately as you can, but it's not rocket science. It's okay. So you get a pop-up menu, some dialog box, which you can now enter in your coordinates. Okay, so do you see the dialog box anyway? Do you see it? Do you see the dialog box? Enter map coordinates. Okay, so if you see that, obviously that's point 1. And point 1 has coordinates minus 10, 25. So the x is minus 10. The y is 25. And just say, okay. Then really you do that, you have what we call the GCP table. It starts populating down here. So you see there's a GCP table which has so many fields, whether the point should be visible. So you see it can be visible or invisible. There's an ID number. There's a source X coordinates, which is 192. Okay, so when you look at the bottom right, those coordinates are there. They have negative 85. These are the coordinates that the computer screen has actually, you know, used to display the image. So they are only arbitrary. Okay, so this is quite a mathematical something. Then there's a destination coordinates. So it's a source X, source Y, it's a destination X, destination Y. It's like coordinate. This is coordinate transformation. All right. Then there's there are the differences. Okay. I mean, but of course, you can ignore all this and there's a residual. Obviously, once you see the word residual, you are doing what we call the least squares, you know, adjustment or transformation. So this is the first point done. Once you do the first point, you want to go on and do the rest. So we are doing edit, add point, and then you are adding, enter the coordinates. Okay, for all the points. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom to layer. I'm going to pan or just zoom to the second point, which is supposed to be somewhere here. Okay, so to be sure, this latitude has to be 10 degrees. This should be 25 north. Okay, so the coordinate here, without even looking at my notepad, which contains a list, I know it is positive 10, and then the y is positive 25. I can just say, okay. Then we can come back to the bottom by just zooming down there. So that one is actually, so click on add point again, zoom, place your cursor approximately to the intersection where it is, click it. This will be negative 10, 0. Excuse me, 10, 0. Are you doing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question.
Are you doing it?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
What's your question?
My question is,
yes.
Why is it that, is it when you add the points, the table at the GCP table, initial one was 0 before 1.
What are you saying? Make it clear.
So I wanted to know why is that is 0 before 1, because I think we started with 1.
This
the
one.
points are 4.
Here. The
Yes,
ID, under the ID.
Yes, sir.
It's not, you're not supposed to worry about that. It's a counter. It's counting the number of things you've done. It's starting from 0, 0, 1, 2. That means you have 3 things. If you can count from 0 if you want. It's not it's trivial to what we are doing anyway. It's just a table. It's a 0 index. You start from 0. It's not really important. It's okay. It's a way to count. It's only keeping track of how many points you're adding. And so if you do 100, you have how many? What will be the last number?
99.
You have 99. So yeah, that's not really part of. It's just a computer's way of keeping track. Okay, now this is the last 4 points we are doing. 10 degrees.
0.
0. We say okay. So we're done. So we have 4 points. We have a GCP table. Ideally, I would have preferred if this point had moved a bit to the left, but it's okay. I mean, this is a way of getting, what is GCP? GCP stands for ground control point. So we are just blessed to have intersections of coordinates like these graticles. Okay, we call them graticles or grids in the case of if you're not using longitudes and latitudes, then we have a grid. But so it's good. It's good to have this scenario. We are working at a very small scale, but it doesn't matter. This is just to teach the students that we can do reference. Okay. The next thing is to go to your settings. Okay, so settings, transformation settings. Then you get menu. So go to settings and transformation settings. After this lecture, we take the attendance. After this particular Zoom, after this tutorial, I'll take attendance. Then we see if we can do another one. So settings, transformation settings. Then you need to put in everything that you see. I think thin place flying.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, I'm having challenges with the sound. Yeah.
Okay. Switch off your television or your radio. Okay. Switch off your television already. That's
okay, sir.
It's not easy to be a teacher. Anyway, let's carry on. So I'm just going to show you that whatever you are seeing, okay, if I want to show you another way, but let me see, sometimes too nice, isn't it? These are the transformation settings, okay? Transformation type, you call it thin plate spline. That is actually a mathematical model. Are you okay? That we are using to do the
Hello,
transformation.
Sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I've off the radio. I said I've off the radio, but still.
Then I think check your volume. It's your problem. Is that okay? It's not from here. So check.
Sir,
so we can't do anything about it. What's your name? What's your name?
Ruben.
But you are talking to me. So what can't you see?
Ruben.
What's the problem again?
I can't get your voice. So.
But you are talking to me now. So
the
what you are saying?
When you are speaking.
But you are talking to me.
Okay, let me go off and come.
Okay, so That's it. You need to actually get it. Settings right, okay? Resampling method is nearest neighbor. Okay. So resampling method is nearest neighbor. The target SRS, so this SRS is spatial reference system. Sometimes too is coordinate reference system, CRS. They all mean the same thing, all right? What are they? They are simply coordinate reference systems. They are different coordinate reference systems, coordinate systems. So the one we have here is the EPSG, the one with a unique number called EPSG code, which is 4326, which is a longitude and latitude, okay? WGS 84 is a longitude, latitude. So there's a name for the different coordinate system. You can experiment with them by going to select CRS. So if you do that, you can see that now we have a list of a large number of coordinate systems, large number of them. There are so many of them. Remember, under map projection, we talked about the cylindrical, conical, azimuthal, geographic, and those things. They are then used to create, so the UTM is one of them. For example, if you type UTM, you see that we get UTM, different types of UTMs where the cylinder has been used. So, okay, so if you understood that lecture, then this is where you link it up with practical. So this is how we use it. Are you okay? So we are telling the computer that the coordinates that we have put into the georeferencer actually belong to, they're actually longitude and latitude. Are you okay? So if they were universal transverse Mercator coordinates, if they were projected coordinates, then they wouldn't look the way they were looking like. This 20, 0, such coordinates can be projected. Most of the time, projected coordinates are very large. When you have a central meridian, which is like 500,000 meters, you know what it means. These are huge values. But what I'm saying is that you need to ensure that you have set a target SRS of WGS 84 by coming here and just type in, for example, 4326, 326. So that gives you this one, and you say, okay, then it picks it. Are you okay? To select nearest neighbor, you simply drop down the list like that. Then you choose the appropriate one, which means we could actually choose any of these cubic. We could choose cubic spline. These are all different models that have been created by people, researchers. Are you okay? Especially those who do maths and apply it to geographical phenomena, or a geographer who is actually doing the research can come out with something like that. So the thin place spline is there. The resampling method is there. Then we have the output. So here you can just go click on the button on the right, like so. Okay. Click it, show the computer where you want it to go. So maybe you have GIS tutorial in your documents. You just open it and then you just put it there. You can give it a name, map of West Africa. Naturally, the Georeferencer plugin as modified to the file name. So the word modified was added and it just says save. Are you okay? So that's where our georeferenced image will be. Then you leave the rest, then you can take down here, load in QGIS when done. Okay, you can check that box and say, okay. And then once you are okay with that, let's go back. We are back in the georeferencer, okay? And then I see a few things going on here that there's been some changes, but I hope it doesn't mess up with it. If we actually mess up with it, because it's a mathematical calculation, the whole transformation doesn't work if you do that. So we've actually finished with the settings. Now we have to actually process it. And so now there's progress. Okay, you can see that it's carrying on with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because you haven't done the settings very well. Are you okay? So you need to do it, take your time and do it and get it right. So when it's done, you should have a georeferenced image. If it's not able to do it, you may have to just redo it all over again. But in the end, we can test if the georeferencing worked or it didn't. Okay, so you should have good, we should have some memory. Let me check. I think my memory is good. 3 gig, not bad. For every work you do in the computer, you need enough space. This one has taken longer than I have always, expected. So let me just do Control Alt Delete and see if something is holding it up. Is anything that is not responding? Ike is here. QGIS. Okay, so this one is taking, this is the longest I've seen. It takes just a few seconds usually. Okay, so I'll pause the recording and then I'll have to fill a form.